Good morning. It's Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. We're here for the Commissioners' weekly meeting, and at this point, I will call the meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adoption of current agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of minutes.
Have my consensus.
Good with me.
All right. Approval of minutes is approved. Approval of warrant registers and payroll
Mr.
rosters.
Chairman, I have two this morning because our L&I was left out, so we have a fund expenditure for labor and industries in the amount, I move for approval of a fund expenditure to L&I in the amount of $4,973.75, and note that it has been reviewed by two members of the auditor's office and signed by the administrator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously.
And Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of fund expenditures in the amount of $380,516.39. And again, it has been reviewed by two members of the auditor's office and signed by the county administrator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Only two.
Only two today.
Thank you. All right, now moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Matt Beaton, Franklin County Auditor. So my comment changed with the agenda. I had wanted to talk about when I looked at the agenda yesterday, I did send the three of you an email concerning regular business item number 1. On the agenda I saw it was up for presentation. Today it appears it's up, it has a resolution next to it. The purpose of my comment is to say, for starters, I have a concern about the agenda if it's in that kind of a flux, because like I said, I sent that comments on that item, which has to do with a very important policy going forward, which is the Franklin County Property Management Policy. And so I had brought up a couple of things in that that were concerns. The email I sent was, Commissioners, I am proposing significant additions and changes to the policy. I brought up two of them, one of which was a clear definition and a process for surplusing. And another one had to do with Section 3, discussing, it comments on appraisal or market analysis. And as you guys know, my background in property valuation, I commented in there that, those are about as interchangeable as referring to a surgeon or a field medic. And we can get further into that. But my request in this comment of the commissioners is to not take action on that until we can further, until I can give you further input. I know that this came up, I think the first we saw of it was last week. I'll end with this, and that is that most government policy writing has a tendency to meet the legal standard, and it's written typically for the ease of the bureaucracy's operation. It's our role as elected officials to assure that the policy has a bias towards the people, and that is, and good policy writing is difficult to do in government. And so that's what I would say, is that a policy disposing of the public's assets of all types, we should be measured and thoughtful before we put that in place and use it for government action. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lance Funk with McKinstry. Just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you all for letting us join in the Franklin County Advisory Board yesterday to talk about the current project, what's happened, how we got there, and kind of what the future looks like, and give us an opportunity to kind of show the work that we did. I know Commissioner Baumann and Mullen were there on site yesterday, and we've talked with all of you at length about it, and just kind of encourage anybody that wants more information to find that meeting recording from last night's meeting, because it went over in good detail all the work that was done at the HAPO Center and why. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Do we have any callers on the phone? Moving on to consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 4 as presented.
I second with discussion on number 1.
So with the motion to pass consent agenda items 1 through 4 with discussion on number 1, let's move into discussion. Commissioner Didier.
Yes, and I apologize if I say the name wrong. It is Mr. Gonzalez. Maybe you can help me out here. Brendan,
Yes, it is Brendan Lady.
is he present?
He's a teacher.
Yeah.
So I know when we spoke to him, he was going to try to get a substitute, but apparently I don't think he was able to. So he's been a long-term teacher, 15 years at Kennewick High School, as a matter of fact, and a coach.
I was hoping to meet him. He is stepping forward to be part of the library boards of trustees. And this is people that we need to make sure of who they are. And he is a basketball coach, is a father of 2, and I think he's more than qualified. And I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for stepping forward to serve on the Board of Trustees for the libraries, because we have lost our grip on this Board of Trustees in a lot of areas. And this is one of the reasons why I insisted on agenda meetings, was that we went over this material before we get to the meeting. And it was on consent still, and I was just, wanted to say thank you to Brendan for stepping forward. We need
Absolutely.
more people like him.
And Chair, if I may, we did vet, and we've talked to several of his colleagues, and he came very highly regarded and someone who's given back to the community, and he's been a basketball coach for 15 years. So everyone we talked to about Brendan said just a fantastic guy. So I think we've got a good one.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, so I have a motion on the floor to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4 as presented. Do I have a second?
I seconded with the discussion. It
Th-
is.
thank
It's got
you.
a second.
All in favor of approving consent agenda items 1 through 4, please notify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to regular business, Resolution 2024-097 Franklin County Property Management Policy, presented by Mike Gonzalez, County Administrator.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an item that we workshopped this past Wednesday, our very first workshop. So essentially, it authorizes counties to establish comprehensive procedures that's based on RCW 3634. What we're kind of mirroring this after work with Jeff Briggs in the civil office on the outlay of this, and we really mirrored the policy after Benton County primarily and some of the other jurisdictions. And the city of Pasco. So it's really another tool in the toolbox in terms of surplusing property. So certainly respect the auditor's perspective. But I think it's a sound policy at this point. I mean, certainly we could add addendums in the future. And Jeff, would you step up and kind of address that or Daniel, whoever would like to, if it is approved today,
the process, if the auditor wanted to weigh in, because I believe he was out of town, so he couldn't attend the workshop. So I was hoping he could attend that. So if he has any input and there's things that are pertinent, they could be added at a later time.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yes, the auditor could weigh in, and you could always change the policy in the future, or we could postpone adoption and let him weigh in and just adopt it with his recommendations if those are accepted by the board. Really, those are, there's more than one option here. But certainly a resolution, a policy adopted by resolution is not set in stone, and we could change this policy at any time.
And thanks, Jeff, appreciate it. And Chair, and I think the board was comfortable in its current form, but I'm willing to work with the auditor on additional addendums and whether you guys want me to bring it back or approve it today, then we can certainly continue to work on it as a living document and just continue to perfect it.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did you get the email from the auditor?
No, I don't think I was on that.
You weren't on that? I would like to have you and the auditor meet and discuss this before we vote on it myself, because I think this is something that we put these safeguards in position so that we don't get ourselves in a bad way. The other thing is I want to be specific on where these funds are going to go if we do sell any surplus property, because I don't want to be just spending money to spend money. We need to get our reserve fund built up, and that's where I really want to focus, is on our reserve fund, getting it built up to back up the county if we head into a dismal, dark time like it looks like we're headed to.
And one of the reasons we put this in place was really to put us in a good position, especially if we want to sell some of those surplus parcels that are, that are valuable. And it allows us to market them a little bit more thoroughly. But it's certainly not the panacea of selling property. As I've said, it's really just another tool in the toolbox to give us an opportunity to market a different way, because I think, like Chair Mullen said, there are certain occasions where you want to actually auction certain items, and then there might be some times where we don't necessarily want to do that and maybe put it on an MLS and list it with a broker. That's something that the city of Pasco often does. So, certainly willing to work with the auditor's office to expand it and make it more comprehensive, because I don't want to do anything too early, and make sure everybody's involved in the process. So, most definitely willing to do that.
Commissioner Baumann.
I just appreciate the conversation as it's been had here, and agree with Clint there that this shouldn't generate funds for use as general revenue, but to build up our reserve fund that is significantly depleted at this point. And I am in favor of this. I believe it adds one more option to us, doesn't take away any options that we had in the past, but I believe it includes an additional option that would allow us to do this if we so chose. And as far as I can tell, it leaves the decision still 100% with the board. It just allows for additional options, and I'm in favor of this.
So with the fact that the auditor was not able to attend the workshop last week, I think that we should put this on next week's agenda.
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll work with Matt and work on the updates that he'd like to see, because I was hoping, I know he was on vacation and he wasn't able to attend, so I would like to get his input and
Sure.
work with him to make it a little bit more comprehensive and make sure everybody's comfortable and everybody's in the loop.
So with the consent of the board, is everyone okay with putting this on next week's agenda?
I am.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, perfect. We'll pull that till next week. Moving on to item number 2, Resolution 2024-099, closed record public hearing. At this point, I will put us into a closed record public hearing. And, pardon me. I will open the I will open the closed record public hearing at this point and ask that Derek Bratton come forward with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is a request for a conditional use permit regarding a proposed billboard sign along 395. The address is 860 Pepiot Road, Mesa, parcel number 109310024. The zoning of the area is general industrial. It is within the city of Mesa UGA, and the property that the sign would be sited on is 20.34 acres. It's located south and east of US Highway 395, north of Pepiot Road and west of Cordes Road. It's a double-sided V-shaped billboard. The footprint on the ground will be about 100 square foot, but the overall billboard itself will be 576 square foot. That's split between both sides, with an overall height of the billboard between 42 and 45 feet. The application is a request to construct a double-sided V-shaped billboard to be facing Highway 395. Franklin County Code requires the approval of a conditional use permit in order to seek relief from industrial zone sign requirements. In other words, you have a permitted by right signs. This exceeds that due to square footage and where it's located. Well, primarily, we'll get anything along 395 within 200 feet of 395 has to get a permit from DOT. We'll get into that because they've already got that. They have gone through that process. And in fact, it's the only billboard sign that DOT authorized last year. So there's a big gap. They basically place these, they have like a standard so many miles between signs and these types of things to prevent what they call sign pollution, lots of signs along their freeways. So the fact they signed off on this indicates that that's a gap kind of in the billboard that there's room. It's not going to create pollution or something, some problem like that, clutter up the highway. This is the subject area, and it's going to be right there at that, about where that arrow's pointing. It's up in that north corner of the property. This is what the property looks like.
Would you go back one slide just for a moment? Very good, thank you.
And technically, it's going to be a little north and west of that little point, but it's right up in that triangle. On or about November 30th, 2023, staff sent notices to technical agencies, property owners within 1 mile, and posted in the Franklin County Graphic. We also posted a pending land use action sign on the property on December 18th and made a SEPA registry 202-305-596 determination of non-significance. So comments received or current franchise agreement or a franchise agreement application shall be required for all utilities within Franklin County right-of-way. Approach permit is required to access Franklin County roads. Any utility extension across Franklin County roads will be addressed at the time of application. It's not likely to impact our infrastructure. It's primarily in proximity to DOT. So their comments are the ones that we're really kind of following. So no direct access to US 395. They're not seeking that. The right-of-way fence typically lies 1 foot inside of the right-of-way. It must not be altered or moved. And then, whereas they recommend, we are requiring, or recommending requiring, that the county ensure that permanent structures are set back a significant distance from the highway to accommodate all of the construction and maintenance operations on the property owner side of the fence and not be having to like have equipment or machinery on DOT side of the fence. So Franklin County building is, they'll need to comply with the setback requirements provided by Franklin County Public Works and DOT to insert sufficient distance from the highway to accommodate all construction, maintenance, and operations on site. The proposed use is in the I-2 district, and it is in accordance with the goals, policies, and county development regulations, will not adversely affect public infrastructure. It will be constructed, maintained, and operated, be in harmony. Like I said, it's been permitted by the DOT, which generally means there's not going to be a risk of sign pollution or anything like that. The location and height of the structure will not discourage development. It's a billboard side. And there's not a lot you can do when you get that close to the freeway anyways with that weird, I mean, it's pretty tricky to get, well, those generally turn into crop corners. So there's not a high value on agricultural utilization for that section of the property. It won't be more objectionable to nearby properties. It's by a freeway, a very active and loud freeway. And it will not endanger the public's health, safety, or general welfare. In addition to the standard CUP language, the applicants shall comply with the requirements of the following agencies: Franklin County Public Works, Washington State Department of Transportation, Franklin County Planning and Building Department. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I do have a suggested motion.
At this point, do we have any questions or?
So you said that DOT has influence if it's within 200 feet?
Generally speaking, yeah.
So that's outside of that right-of-way, so somehow there's some law in place that says they have jurisdiction outside of their right-of-way on county property.
To some degree, yes, they do have an influence zone. There's things that involving with vehicle traffic traveling at high rates of speed that create they may have a specific right-of-way, but they also can have an influence. A prime example of this happened in Airway Heights along Highway 2. Private property owner puts in a sign. It's an off-site sign advertising for things that are developing in the back of his two properties. DOT comes along and basically says because it's within 200 feet of the freeway, he has to pay them a permit. Now, he did not have to seek a permit from them at this time. But yes, they have, I don't know the actual regulations, but yes, they do seem to have a legal influence area around
That'd be
off of there.
That'd be fascinating to know how that the DOT has a right to permit outside of their right-of-way.
It has to do with the fact that the theory that as I understand it, is that basically, if not but for the freeway, you would not be putting up that sign.
That's fine, but if not for air, I wouldn't be a pilot. I mean,
And they don't charge for pole signs that are, in a freeway, like say going through downtown Spokane with elevated, so you got your pole signs. I'm not aware of them charging for those. So I'm just.
and so, so they withhold permits unless you're within their allotted sign separation? That's another thing that seems.
I actually have not come across a situation like what you just described where somebody does that and puts up a sign and then DOT comes after them. What happened in Airway Heights is that they put up the sign, then they basically told the guy, the city wasn't involved in it, but he had to pay him $200 licensing fee because of the proximity of it, the sign to the highway.
That's a fascinating argument that I've never heard before.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know their exact reasoning or the law. The only thing that I can understand is that's the only kind of like logical nexus I can see there. Doesn't mean I agree with it. It's just
I understand that. I just that seems like that it would appear to me on the surface, not knowing any of the background, that's them overstepping their bounds, which they've been known to do from time to time. So that was the reason for the questions.
And for clarification, this is private property, not county property, correct? Yes, thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Is there anyone in the public for?
It's closed.
It's closed.
Public hearing.
Close it before they can?
No,
closed.
it's a closed. It's
Okay.
only what's on
All
the
right.
record.
Thank you.
Just the commissioner's comment on it.
Any further discussion? At this point, I will close the closed record public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2024-099, closed record public hearing.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Moving on to Resolution 2024-0100, again presented by Derek Bratton. Closed record public hearing. At this point, I will open the closed record public hearing.
Thank you, Chair. This is another conditional use permit. This is a request to amend an existing conditional use permit. Actually, there's a few. It's been there a while. For a dairy facility located at 2300 Cruise Road, parcel number 110410047. The zoning for the property is agricultural production 20, AP 20. Comp plan designation is agricultural, and the property size is approximately 162.1 acres. Location is south of Cruise Road, west of Juniper Dunes Road, east of Frontier Road, and north of Kepps Road. The request is for addition of 4,000 milking cows for the existing dairy at 5D Farms, bringing the total number of milking cows from the previously approved 8,000 head to 12,000 head. Moreover, the applicant will be constructing new freestall barns, pens, and remodeling current milking facility to accommodate the increased count. According to the applicant as well, this is not something like tomorrow they're going to fly in 4,000 cows. It's to allow for expansion over time as the market dictates. The site access, location of existing freestall barns, existing manure management area, and location of proposed new freestall barns were all shown on the site plan. This is the location of the property. It's an active dairy facility. It's been there for quite a while. This is the proposed site plan. The things in tan are the proposed new. The gray, that's all existing on the site. These are site photos. This is the proposed, well, that's the notification sign. On or about January 4, 2024, staff sent notices to technical agencies, property owners within 1 mile in the Franklin County Graphic, posted a pending land use action sign on the property on January 16th, issued a SEPA optional determination of non-significance under WAC 19711-355, and then have finalized and submitted it to the SEPA registry as 202-400-016. Agency comments were received from Franklin PUD, Franklin County Public Works, Franklin County Planning and Building, and Washington Department of Ecology. No public comments were received regarding the proposed expansion. This application is an amendment to previously approved conditional use permits 1999-10, 2004-11, and 2010-01. CUP 1999-10 was the original conditional use permit for 5D Farms, which was approved in 1999 to operate a 1,500 to 4,000 head count dairy. Over the years, the farm has expanded their operations, and currently, as mentioned, they're at 8,000 head. This amendment is seeking to add the additional 4,000, as well as the permission to expand the facilities on the property. Property owner has a right of up to 500 milking cows for dairy operation by right. Anything over that requires a CUP. And then any increase in that head count requires an amendment, or an increase of capacity or activity at those facilities requires an amendment to that previously approved. In other words, it means just because you get an approval doesn't mean you just get to start expanding. Anytime you do that, you have to come back for reapproval. I just went over that. The proposed use in the AP 20 zoning district is in accordance with the goals and policies of the county development regulations. The proposal will not adversely affect public infrastructure. It will be constructed, maintained, and operated to be in harmony with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and the location and height of the structure and site design will not discourage the development of permitted uses. I mean, it's been there since, what, almost 30 years now. It will not be more objectionable. It's already doing what it does, and I don't think anybody's going to go, I smell 4,000 different cows over there. So it is what it is at this point. The proposal will not endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. And of course, they're also going to have to submit new nutrient management plans and stuff like that, which is part of their conditioning process. As they expand, every time they expand, they have to submit new documents to ecology and/or the Department of Ag, and then those are, given to us. So as they grow, we are making sure, and other agencies are making sure that they're still continuing to meet the requirements. So best management practices to minimize dust during construction shall be used. This is an active site. There's always a possibility of archaeological remains, but it's an inadvertent discovery protocol is what we're requiring, meaning if you find something, you got to report it, but no advanced studies. I mean, that's everywhere they're looking to develop is already in disturbed ground. Application for Franklin County building permit shall be submitted for fencing and structures, and the applicant will need to comply with any other local, state, and federal regulations. They'll be required to obtain there's always already an access, so this is a standard comment from Public Works. It's unlikely that they're going to need a new permit. We're not aware of them needing additional accesses or even an increased real volume in their truck traffic. So that's a standard thing. But it's unlikely that they'll need to do anything other than just get it inspected to make sure that everything's the way it needs to be. Any utility extension crossing Franklin County roads will be addressed at the time of applications. And I'm happy to answer any questions and do have a recommended motion.
Discussion.
The item C there at the top, it says that a permit is required for fencing.
Yeah, that depends. Now, cattle fencing, movable fencing, things like that, stall fencing, no. Permanent fencing for commercial activities does require a permit under Franklin County Code. And it's because it's commercial activity. So what'll happen is they'll submit for the things that they're looking to do, whether or not that fence, barbed wire fence, or something like that. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about 6-foot industrialized type of fencing.
Sure. What would be the purpose of us asking for? Is there any scenario that we would ever deny a permit for a fence that they wanted to do in any form or fashion to any design that they chose?
In this specific scenario, not likely. Can there be fencing scenario? Yes. People cross over. Part of what happens when you get a permit is we're checking to make sure that the fence is on your property, not the neighbor's property, these types of things. Industrial areas, some of this may be carryover from, development in a city is a little different, and some of our codes seem to be mirror an awful lot of the city of Pasco's codes. That's one of the things we're looking at, as we bring 17 forward for review, we're getting it to be more focused on us as opposed to what's going on in the UGAs, I guess is a good way of putting it.
I just can't imagine a scenario where that
It's not uncommon. In fact, I'm not aware of a jurisdiction that does not require permits for a commercial fence.
I can appreciate that. I just don't know the purpose of it. I don't know a scenario where a dairy farm couldn't do whatever they wanted on their ground. If you build a fence on your neighbor's property, there's lots of ways that can be addressed outside of a county building department, saying you can't build on your neighbor's property. Anyway, I haven't seen that. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? So yeah, I've been out there and seen the dairy. It's very well kept. It's tidy. It's a very good example of a well-ran dairy operation.
And this did come up in the hearing, so I can say it. But the purpose of this is Mr. DeRuiter is starting to basically plan for the future, shall we say. And his sons are coming up and is wanting to optimize their opportunities, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
and if I might add, I believe he put in the first digester. Doesn't he have a digester there for the methane to create the gas, and he's locked in?
I know that we did issue a
Yes.
conditional use permit. I'm not sure where that is.
So
in
he's being
process.
innovative too. I mean, he's
Oh, yeah.
he's
Oh, yeah.
looking
That-
at the future, and he's
Yep.
doing the things that need to be done. And I will say this: I think there are 3 dairies out there located in succession with one another, and it is the perfect spot where they got ran out of the Yakima area. They moved up here, and this is the perfect spot because prevailing winds takes it away from the mass.
The population. yeah.
Yes.
You don't know it until you're just south of, and only if the wind's blowing it the
Yep.
right way, so.
No further questions. No further.
All right,
comments.
at this point, hearing no further discussion, I will close the closed record public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2024-0100 as presented.
I second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair Mullen. Been a really busy several days. Harris White Leisure's in town, so I had an opportunity to meet with Marshall Myers, who's here today, will present with us a little bit later at the workshop, and Larry Leisure, who's been working really hard. Had the HAPO Center Advisory Board meeting yesterday. Really good attendance, so appreciate the commissioners attending that, and some good news is HWL turned a nice profit in the fourth quarter, so that was great to see. So they've really shaped that place up already, and you could see the difference, and even the difference in the meeting yesterday with the audio visual and just the setup, and I feel like they're really making it a first class organization and really trying to step up their game out there. So really happy with the progress that they're making out there. So just so excited to work with those guys. Had a chance to chat with the sheriff's office and the city of Pasco about the emergency 911 sales tax that could potentially be put on the ballot, and received an email from Benton County, Matt Rasmussen, about an hour ago. They discussed that yesterday at their meeting, and it doesn't look like Benton County actually wants to do that. So they sent out an email to the jurisdiction saying it looks like they're headed in that direction. That doesn't mean we couldn't do it ourselves. I think we can generate up to $4 million is what we're looking at potentially to help fund some of our infrastructure. So I think that's a conversation we need to start having, and I think it'd be a good workshop item to really start thinking about that if we're going to do it on our own. And I know the sheriff is in support of it, and I think this body has said, we support that endeavor. So we can start looking at the mechanics, and I think by August we'd have to put in that we want it on the ballot. But again, this is not a levy; it would be a sales tax to the public if they wanted to support some of that infrastructure. As we know, it's super expensive. It's when you think about the microwave infrastructure that we're going to have to pay for, and then the radios and what those are going to cost. So. And the system itself is really on life support, as we've told the public a number of times. Also, I've been meeting with Larry Ziegler, our public defense manager, about indigent defense and some of the new case count provisions that they're putting on. We met with the state recently, and so those costs they're going to increase exponentially. Kudos to the auditor staff. One solution's been put in place. It's our new financial program. So Jeff Burkhart has shepherded that and done a great job. So appreciate his staff, Raul. He's been really supporting the endeavor. Anybody has any issues they need, he runs. So he helped train me. So kudos to Raul. Thank you. Horse stall auction, that's been a team effort. Booker's doing a great job. And I just wanted to end with a special thanks to District Court, because the inmates, they've been humping it. They're definitely doing a good job. I think Joel, the general manager over at the Hapo Center said they had like 10 loads of stuff that's been coming out of the stalls. So couldn't do without those guys, and they're doing a great job cleaning it up. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Commissioner Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pretty busy last week. Agenda meeting with the staff. Had a meeting with an insurance vendor along with the county administrator in potential options there about some of the insurance need and the rising costs that we've been experiencing here at the county. So appreciated that vendor coming forward and visiting with us, and I believe that the administrator and that vendor will be having further discussions. Had the opportunity to meet with a number of our state elected leaders over the last week. Appreciated continuing to build relationship with them and share with them some of the needs that we have here in Franklin County. Met with the management team for HAPO yesterday with the county administrator. Really appreciate their diligence and what they've been doing. And it's appreciated also attending the HAPO Advisory Board meeting last night and seeing the financials from the last quarter of 2023 and seeing the improvements there. I'm thankful that we've kind of maybe adjusted course just a little bit, where that we can we've already are able to see some of the improvements start to show there. Also have met with a number of the citizens here in the county, and a couple of different people have brought forward and they have shared that they're excited about the idea of us doing workshop meetings, and specifically that they're thankful that we're going to have a public comment component to that. One comment was that they hope that we did not narrow it to, you know, 2 comments in favor of one or action or another and 2 against. They had hoped that we kept it open, and I personally believe that that's the proper way to go. And they also commented how that they appreciated how the thought was to keep it narrowly focused to the items on the agenda of the workshop meeting. So looking forward to this, some of these new, maybe a little bit more of a structured format to walk through some of this work that we need to do, that way that the commissioners here, that we can visit amongst each other. So that's all, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Didier.
Last week, I had the Columbia Basin Sustainable Water Coalition Executive and Board meeting, and then the Franklin County Emergency Management meeting, Ben Franklin Council of Governments meeting, agenda meeting with Mike on Monday, and a meeting yesterday with HWL. Cleaning out my emails, I found a email here that was sent to me about a small, what if public transit was like Uber? A small city ended its bus service to find out. They're offering rides from their door to wherever they want to go, and they started at $1.50, and now it's $2.50 for a round trip. Besides generating some income off of this, they've eliminated their buses, and we all know that our 0.6% in Franklin County equates to roughly 18 million. And so I think that we really do, and I also got an email from Mr. Briggs. He sent it to all of us, did ask us not to respond, but very informative about the dissolvement of Ben Franklin Transit and how we might go about it, and it is feasible. So it's something that we maybe want to have a workshop on that also down the road here to see. There's 3 ways of doing it, I believe, in dissolving it. I think the best way would be to go to the voters, because they're the ones that voted it in. They should be the ones that voted out. And this is a means that we can tidy up this out-of-control Ben Franklin Transit that likes to spend money. Other than that, I believe that's everything. The Capitol Press is full of some great articles, and one of them I think I'll be mentioning in the next presentation by Mr. Gonzalez, but a lot of stuff going on. Artificial intelligence to impose data demands on farmers. That's very concerning. And then there's the core irrigators impact acres estimated differ. They were at 48,000. Darrell Olson came in and said they're way under. It's almost 95,000 acres that it'll impact. if they breach the dams. More calls for the wolf population, that they say there's no growth, but back here there is massive amounts of wolves showing up everywhere. And then OSHA, let the fox into the hen house. And it's the inspection on that's going on in the farming industry and the ranching industry. A lot of good information in this Capital Press. Encourage everybody to read it. Thank you.
So last week I had a couple visits out to the HAPO Center to see the cleanup that was going on by the workforce. They are doing a great job of getting that cleaned up and look forward to getting those items listed in an auction date so we can let everyone know exactly when they're going to be sold and get that adequately merchandised. Had my chair meeting with the Mr. Gonzalez, the county administrator. The Disability Board Committee was canceled due to a lack of a quorum. And again, looking forward to the workshops. This is a much needed opportunity that will allow the commissioners to work towards moving the county forward in an open discussion. Met also with HWL about the HAPO Center and had the Pasco Chamber meeting yesterday. Attended the HAPO advisory meeting last night. Had several discussions with the health department and constituents in the county about off-site policies and health department issues that we're going to bring up at the health department meeting today. So that concludes my update for this week. Moving on to administrative office business presentation. Doesn't list who the presenter is today.
Yes, sir. Forgive me. That was my fault for not putting the speaker, Israel De La Mora. So he's going to step up and talk to us, Chair, about the Opportunity Industrialization Center, better known as OIC, across the state. So, Chair, they are seeking a letter of support request for the U.S. Department of Labor National Farm Worker Jobs Program. And Israel's office is located right on Court Street, and he's been a long-time Franklin County resident, and their office really does a lot for farm workers and that extricable link that we have to farm to table, and what an important element farm workers are to Franklin County. So thank you, Israel, for coming.
Yes,
Thank
good
you,
morning.
Mike.
Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Didier, Mullen, and Bauman for letting me take a few minutes of your time. Just to answer your questions on our letter of support. So just to let you a little bit know is that I've been working for the OIC for going on 19 years. We've had the same federal grant for over 22 years. And every 4 years, we're up for another revision and another grant opportunity. So we're reapplying, and so we would like to ask for a letter of support from the commissioner, as it'll also help our prospective ability to get it. A little bit about what we do. So the National Farm Workers Jobs Program is, like I said, is a federal program that mandates us to provide services, in particularly educational and training opportunities for the migrant seasonal farm workers in this region or in Washington State. I am in charge of the Benton, Franklin, and Walla Walla counties to deliver those funds. We are a partner of the workforce system here, or workforce in Kennewick. And if I was to tell you, 5D Farms, I recently placed a young man there working as a CDL truck driver. Last year, we did about 40 CDLs with this funds. In addition, we were an integral part of the Connell School District Youth CDL program. We actually funded a lot of those kids, and we look forward to continuing that. I'm looking to get into Othello now, specifically the rural schools. As you know, a lot of those rural kids come from a migrant or a farm working background, so it's just a great opportunity for them to to take advantage of some of these resources that normally it would be a struggle for them and their families to be able to pay. Now, just a few facts of what the grant is. Since it's a federal program, we only serve people who have legal status in the U.S. We cannot serve others. Wish we could help everybody, but it is a federal grant, so we got to make sure we stay under those guidelines. They have to be low income and obviously the ag background. Any questions?
Approximately how many people do you place each year?
We place, last year, let's see, average about 78 people, individuals in jobs. We do serve over 120 something, but the people that come at the latter year is subsequently carried over into the next program year, so it just varies. But we do place a lot of that. We pay for most other training. I will tell you something that's going on right now. We work with Peritech. They do a lot of ag diesel mechanics. We're involved in that. Steering a lot of these youth, especially because, as you know, automation is taking over. And so we get a lot of parents that really don't understand and support the youth as to what that ag is looking like. So a lot of the youth have misconceptions of what the industry is changing. So we got to be at the forefront. So right now, I'm working with Dr. Nadu Rapatari, which is the lead professor at Washington State Ag and Innovation Center here in Prosser, to do tours, to do get them involved into that so they can do summer stuff, internships and stuff like that. Also, make sure that parents are aware of what's happening. We're working with Tagares right now in Tagares Fruit to try to to work on computer literacy for a lot of their foremen, so as they know that they're changing. One of the things that I've heard is that they had to go to California to get somebody who could work on their automated tractor, And so pivot systems, they're all satellite automated. So we're trying to be at the forefront to make sure we steer these young kids and also educate their parents over the opportunity of what they need to do.
So how would the farming community get a hold of you?
We have our site. We do a lot of work with other community entities. We do a lot of job and educational school fairs. We promote online. We do some free radio ads with different radio ads. We've done some Univision, Galavision, those kind of TV stations to get the word out. And honestly, it goes back to how we do our service. And the most of our referrals are by word of mouth of what we do. Sometimes I take offense, and when I hear, well, I haven't heard of OIC, it's like, oh, well, that's my fault. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing, because we definitely need a workforce out there that's educated, and I do appreciate the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes. What's the grant value that you're going after?
It is, I think, 4-point-something million, but it's for the whole state. Here in this area, I do get direct services about $265,000. We're almost to that end right now. I think last time I checked we were at 229, and these are all expenditures that goes actually to trainings and stuff like that.
And you're only working with people that are citizens of the United States, so you don't have any interaction with the H-2A workers?
No, no. There might be a little bit of down the line where they're trying to see, but it's all DOL demand. Will be making those decisions. But at this time, no. We only serve the legal population, residents, permanent residents, and U.S. citizens.
So the other question on the grant, how long is this grant good for?
4 years.
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then your average participation every year is about, you said 75?
Well, from the program services as they go around, my mandate this year was 132.
132?
Yeah, but last year was 160, but for some reason, it was lowered a little bit by the Department of Labor. But, yeah, it is. And then job placements, I think this year we have to do 78, and we're around the 50s, so we still have, right now, we have a lot of nest eggs, especially with CDLs, that we do a lot of CDLs and stuff like that are going to go to work.
All right, thank you.
So with the CDL, do you have a CDL training program?
We're working on that. As a matter of fact, we're going to start but only in Yakima. But right now, we do a lot of collaborations with T Enterprises, H&R Elite here in Pasco, Columbia Basin Truck Driving School, and we utilize training agencies that are already here, and we have a great working relationship. As is, a lot of times they, because of who they serve and knowing that we've been working with for a lot of times, they give us a little bit of a rate change, I guess, preference.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's expensive to get
Oh,
your
it is. It is.
CDL, and
Mhm,
so,
yeah.
and definitely a need there. So.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bauman.
I appreciate. I've heard of a number of the programs that you work with. The one I've heard the most about is the program with CDL at Connell High School, and I've heard some really, really neat things about that. So really appreciate that. I got my CDL when I was 18, and it was much simpler back then and much less expensive. You could do a lot of it with hard work, and you can't do quite so much with hard work today. It's very expensive. Last I checked into it for my son, I believe it's almost $5,000, and that's on the very low end, and it can reach up to $8,000 to $9,000 to get your CDL. And so really appreciate the work you're doing, and look forward to hearing about more of the success in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Bauman. Just to add a little bit of that is, a lot of the youth, sometimes they use it as and I could tell you one story. I have a youth that went to Wyoming Tech or something like that. They got their CDL, but they went in there, and now that he's working, driving trucks in the power lines, so making over $200,000. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be that. It can be a stepping stone to something else. So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'm definitely in favor of writing a letter of recommendation.
I am too.
Yes, most definitely. We appreciate the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you for your time, and look forward to working with you guys. And any other questions, I'm gonna leave my card.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thanks, Israel.
Also want to add, this morning I had a meeting with Visit Tri-Cities, their monthly board meeting. And a couple topics that came out of that was, the Ironman competition that they're bringing to the Tri-Cities. They were able to secure a $30,000 grant for that, and also a $30,000 grant for the horseshoe tournament that they're bringing here this summer. And I would just like to add, I think that we really need to have a representative from the HAPO Center attend the Visit Tri-City board meetings. They do a lot of hard work, and they do a great job of bringing outside conventions and activities into the Tri-Cities, and therefore I think that it's an opportunity that we're not taking advantage of, and I think it would benefit us all to have someone from the HAPO Center attend those board meetings as well.
Okay, we'll make sure we get someone there.
And I spoke with Larry Leisure, and he was in agreement with it
Okay.
as well, so.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna now open it up to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, you have 3 minutes, and please state your name. Hearing none, do we have anyone on the phone? No one on the phone. All right, do we have any need for an executive session today?
We do not, unless our legal team has a need. At this point, we do not. Okay, we do. And Jeff, it would be potential litigation if you don't mind citing that RCW for me.
Yes, that'd be RCW 4230-110-1I. Present at the executive session would be myself, Mr. Stover, and Mr. Leisure, and county administrator, and of course the board.
And Marshall, I
Marshall.
believe.
Oh, Marshall, sorry. And Marshall. How long do we need?
3 minutes?
3 minutes?
That'd be quick.
Let's
Okay.
make it 8 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be the quickest executive session. When you get lawyers involved, it's usually about a half hour. We'll try and cut it short this time.
No comment.
All right.
Round it to 10.
Do we want
So
to
at
say
this-
10 or?
Let's go 10.
At this point, we'll go into executive session for 10 minutes. And the time is 10 o'clock on the nose.
Because we got 2 lawyers involved.
You're saying we need an hour?
I've been told that I've been too slack with this gentleman.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we've come out of an executive session. Is there any further business for the good of the county?
No, Chair, we are through.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I did receive another email from an insurance agent from Garfield and Columbia. Commissioner Baumann, was that who you were speaking about?
No, sir. It was an additional one.
So he's reached out to us, and I will give you his information. He's working with Garfield and Columbia, and I think that in this insurance world right now, we need to look at all options.
Definitely will.
Any further business for the good of the county?
No, sir, thank you.
Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. We'll take a 10-minute recess, and then we will proceed with the Franklin County workshop, approximately 10 minutes. time I have an issue, Hank asked me if I rub salt on it. It's Wednesday, April 24th, 10:18 a.m. We are here for the Franklin County Workshop. Today's discussion will be the HAPO Center interlocal agreement with the City of Pasco. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. And in attendance, we have City Manager Adam Lincoln, Councilwoman Melissa Blaisdell, so glad they could make it. I believe Leo Perales, Councilman Perales, is on the phone. Teresa, has he logged in? I know he's familiar with our number. If he's not able to get in, I can always call him on the phone and put him on speaker. I know he wanted to be a part of it. Okay, wonderful. And then we have Larry Leisure and Marshall Myers from HWL to engage in the discussion. And really the intent of today's discussion is to talk about the interlocal agreement, the extension of that possibly through the end of 2024, talk a little bit about the master plan as part of that element. Myself and Larry and the HWL team, along with, I know commissioners, you've had a chance to meet with them also individually. So we've been engaging in talks for quite a while now, and we've had some pretty good discussions, and so the city requested to come in public and workshop this and talk about it and get in front of the body and see where we go from here. So really kind of an open-ended discussion and to kind of really formulate a game plan, if you will, and then put it in the hands of the legal team. So with that, I'll ask Adam to come up and Councilwoman Blaisdell.
Welcome this morning. We've had lots of talks lately, and I think that working forward together with a progression for the betterment of Franklin County is in the best interest of both of us. So thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Commissioners. I guess the only thing I'll add to what Mr. Gonzalez said was that the City Council had a retreat earlier this year. The outcome of that was there was a brief conversation about the future of the HAPO Center, and one of the items that was discussed was the council would be interested in extending the agreement through the end of the year, assuming there would be some version of a master plan, however that looks. It sounds like in talks with Mr. Gonzalez, there's also been money set aside to accomplish that study or studies, however that comes about as well. And we've got two council members who can elaborate on the discussion if need be.
I guess first, are you guys wanting to extend the ILA agreement until the end of the year, and then we can have a better idea, because it is coming up at the end of, I believe, May 14th, the agreement will stop.
So with the HAPO Center and the betterment for the community, I am in agreement to work forward and work together, and so it would be, in my opinion, to extend it till the end of the year. I think that's a very underutilized facility out there, and I'm excited that HWL is here, and I think that working along with Visit Tri-Cities, that we can make the HAPO Center a success. And I look forward to the improvements and additional activities that would take place there. So, I don't know if my fellow commissioners have any discussion or thoughts on the idea, but.
Well, I'll just say this, we're already into the year, and I know that there's baseball tournaments scheduled, and I think it's for the best interest of our community that if we extended this through the end of the year to get through the year and work on this master plan and bring everything together, and we'll see how we do at the end of the year. But I think for us to try to take this over right now, or for anything other than what we've been doing as a community, because I know you got softball tournaments, we got soccer tournament, we got all these things going on. We have a new development happening with HWL, who's very, very knowledgeable on these event centers, on how to get them up, and they're obviously showing that already with the improvements. So at this time, I'm in favor of extending the ILA through the end of December.
Thank you.
I know we do have to take that back to city council to vote on.
Yep.
I know all of them are eager to see the master plan and,
As we are, too.
yeah. So I think that's what everyone's eagerly waiting for.
Commissioner Bauman, any thoughts or discussion?
I've said for a long time and still believe today that it would be a good idea for the city council as well as the commissioners to get together and workshop this item. I don't know where the city council stands, and according to our contract, if they would like to extend or if they would like to terminate the contract, that's balls in their court, and I don't know where that's at today. And so I would like to see us sit down and have a workshop on it and kind of get some ideas on the table. I think it would be valuable for HWL to be able to participate in that workshop so that we can not have any wrong questions or right ideas, but to get ideas on the table and work through that. And I would really like to know where the city council stands as far as what they would like to see, or what their participation level they feel would be workable. And so that's what I would like to see.
Well, I think you have the consensus of the board here that we would like to move forward. And we're excited to work with the city, so let us know what your thoughts are, and let's make the Hapo Center an attraction for Franklin County.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right, did HWL, did Larry Leisure, anyone have any thoughts on this, or? All right, well, I think you, like I said, you have the consensus. We're looking forward to it and making this, like I said, an attraction that benefits both Franklin and the city of Pasco, Franklin County. I'm excited to see that the talks that go together, because I think there's been a lot of misunderstandings about the contract over the past few years, that maybe it wasn't being followed correctly or whatever, but it's nice that we're able to sit down and talk with each other and move forward for the betterment of Franklin County, so.
Agreed.
Absolutely, and Chair, permission to speak, and I'll work through Adam and his team and continue to work with Larry Leisure. So, kudos to Adam and Larry. Really, kudos to Larry, because Larry's really been the guy that's, been the conduit and the glue. So he's been great to work with, and he's modest, but he's actually great to work with, and really appreciate the HWL team, because they've been real pros throughout the process, and I think the relationship between the city and county is probably the best it's been in a long time, and we're able to actually come to the table and work with each other. So I'm excited about the future.
It's good. I see Mike more now than when he was.
I know that is true. Before
run into each other a lot.
I can get advice from him.
Well,
So
I
it's
do
been
believe
great.
that today is National Administrators Day.
It is, yes.
So, just like to say thank you for coming to Franklin County and the hard work that you do for us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Am I correct in And assuming that you're going to be discussing this Monday at your next meeting?
I'm not sure if it'll be,
We don't have a
it'll probably
meeting
be
this
an
Monday.
informal miscellaneous discussion.
Okay.
Commissioner. Yeah.
But you will be discussing it?
Yeah.
Not this Monday, though.
Oh, yeah, correct. There's no meeting this Monday.
Oh, there's
Forgive
no
me.
meeting?
Yeah, fifth Mondays, the council doesn't meet, so the following one, it'll be
Okay.
part of the update to council.
All righty.
Appreciate your time.
We'll be tuning in to listen.
Is there anyone in the room for further discussion or thoughts or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing none, I guess the workshop is, well, Mr. Commissioner Bauman.
Oh,
has a-
is Leo Prowse online? Okay, go. I would say defer to
The
Commissioner
chair,
Bell.
the chair recognizes Commissioner Bauman.
So was there any intention for us ever to get together and talk, or are we going to ask them to go out and do a master plan before the council and the commission would get together and have that type of a discussion?
I think at this point, am I correct that the council would have to agree to the extension? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Based on the conversation with council, they'd like to see the extension first and get the master plan going. I think that'll give some more information about what the future holds for the center itself and gives us sort of a better starting point for what we go forward and do. But that was the consensus from the council discussion, was to come and present that message today.
And in regards to Commissioner Bauman, I think that once we get the master plan put into place, I think that's the time we need to come together to make sure everybody's on the same page and that we're going to be working together for the success of that master plan produced by Harris White Leisure.
Yeah, and to that point also, Commissioners, I think the conversation around scoping for the master plan between Mr. Gonzalez and myself and some of the council members has been very fruitful in making sure that it incorporates a very holistic look at the facility and the surrounding area. So I think it's going to be a really positive, whatever the master plan looks like, I think it'll cover a really good scope.
So it looks like May 6th will be the next Pasco City Council meeting, and that's when you will make the decision, make the decision.
We'll make sure that we get it in front of the council so that they're able to extend it in all the appropriate timelines. I'll keep it moving on the staff side.
So at that point, then we'll decide a meeting date where we can meet with them.
Yeah, I just feel like that it's important that the council and the commission meet to help provide some direction for the master planning process. After the fact, the plan's already complete, so then it's just an implementation versus to help shape what the plan would look like. And so that's my feeling.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we do have Mr. Dockstetter. Welcome.
Thank you. A couple items. George Dockstetter, Self Landing Road. I can't find the agenda on the county website to find out what we're talking about at these meetings. So you're having a workshop on HAPO, which concerns a lot of people in the county, and I think it ought to be posted where it's easily found, and you ought to give notice on these workshops a couple weeks ahead of time, so if people have an interest, they can show up and speak their mind. I've got a couple things about the HAPO Center that I care about, and one is we have a lot of ground out there that's just wasted. We got a parking lot for the transit authority. Why in the hell aren't we selling that off to another motel or something instead of sitting there providing free parking to the people of Franklin County that are using the minivan transit deal? And the other thing is, along Convention Drive, we're sitting there with a big gas parking lot that's hardly getting used, and we could do that and sell pad sites just off of Convention Drive for restaurants, and you could almost give it away and make it up in what you're gonna get sales taxes and property taxes in a few years, instead of just letting it sit there being grass and parking lot that's falling apart. I mean, there's all sorts of options out there, and I hope when you do meet with the city that you guys explore them. But one thing is, when meetings like this and you're having a workshop, there ought to be at least a 2-week notice. This is the item we're gonna discuss in the workshop. If you have an interest, please show up or turn your comments into one of the commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We
So-
appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, along those lines, Mike, where is this agenda posted? It was on our,
Yeah, it's posted on our website. I don't want the public
Website.
to think it wasn't posted because it was noticed properly. I couldn't tell you exactly. Teresa could tell you exactly the number of days,
I'll
but
tell you what, you gotta go through about 5 different spots to find it.
so Mike, on your presentations of your connection, and start putting the agenda
you
on there.
know what I'll do in light because we have changed the system and I will not dispute that it's a little bit clunkier to get to it.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll put some directions on our social media and figure out. We'll figure out if we can link. I think the easy solution is put a link on our homepage that will go to our agenda. So I'll work on it to make it easier.
Why
'Cause,
not just post it on the website every week?
I will do, George, I will do that. So
Yes.
I will do that on our
We
homepage.
do got to make sure the agenda and the workshops are out there in time so people can show up. We
They
need-
definitely
we
are.
need public
They're definitely
participation.
noticed in time. So I don't want people to think we're posting it the day of because that
No,
wouldn't be accurate. But
The workshop is a work in progress.
right, yeah. So, but hey, I'm one. Things can always get better. So I'm very coachable. So if we can make it better, we'll definitely do that.
I would add that this workshop, and this is a good thing. These workshops are, and it is a new system. And even, you know, some of the electeds with regard to just trying to adjust to the new system, I would say the same thing. I wasn't on vacation last Wednesday. In fact, it came up, and by the way, I hope we have enough time to bring back this important policy in 1 week for that other item. But to speak to whether it's the HAPO Center, whether it's a policy consideration, this is a great thing that's going on. There's a learning curve on it. You know, whether you have the internal agenda process and then you take a PDF and put that so it's you can find it real easy, and you plan out 2, 3, 4 weeks to say, this is what we're going to talk about, this is what we're going to, because then we can, you know, I would have done a lot more work on this. This property management thing is a real big deal, ties straight into HAPO because you've got these properties that are going to need to be sold off. So all of these things are good. They're growth pains. I know everybody's trying to get it right, but I think, you know, the board has to be, you know, very clear on saying this is what we expect. I mean, we want a static agenda for our meetings, you know, to meet OPMA, or even more. And these workshops are even more important because these are big topics. They've never been workshopped before, and I want to thank you for going through this. We just have to get it right so that people can show up. So.
And if I did read your email right, we're going to workshop the budget, but we're waiting for all the work to be done in your office.
That you mean as far as if you guys want to do that? What I said was if the auditor's participation in that, we're doing annual report and it's
Right.
statutory. I would move ahead. You know, if you want to, you know, move ahead. We can provide if we can, but I don't know that what the circumstance is that we have till June to wait and see what happens. So if you guys want to, you know, get an outline and figure out how you're going to run it, they're your workshops, and you should, you know, and my feeling is I know what I want to add, just like I want to add on the property policy and my function as auditor. I have some stuff to put in, but I know the treasurer, the clerk, I mean, there's some people who have been around here a long time, and they kind of have the historical knowledge, plus as we grow and we get a chance to have greater public participation in your decision-making process, and you want to hear from more people. So, to directly answer your question, don't wait on us. I mean, you're the budgetary authority. You're the ones that have to start to put stuff in place. You know, we can provide information, but as far as the actual, you know, scenario type work, that wouldn't be till June, and I can't even speak till we get to June.
So I'm not sitting in on the budget meetings anymore. have you got the hard numbers for the first quarter yet?
Well, your chair, we have those. We've been doing the monthly one. I attended the last one with Rocky. We have handouts. I think we sent extras, and we try to do that because obviously only one of you can be there. I don't know that, even during annual report, we can put some numbers together, and and even now the treasurer's in property tax season, so it's a little skinny as far as deeper discussions in those budget meetings. But I mean, we can get the stuff to you guys, and you can look at the metrics that you determine are important.
I would suggest that you get that report to the other two commissioners also, because I'd like, now that I've been in that budget meeting for so many years, I can look through it and just about tell you where we're at.
I believe the last one Rocky asked for, and we gave additional copies of whatever was produced. So yeah, that's typically what we do.
I didn't just receive one.
And I think Tim sends them out in electronic format as well. So that's fine. We can get you some of that. But I just think, we do the expense side of the budget, and I understand that, and we can provide analytical, but the idea is that you're looking at those key revenue components and monitoring those. Don't wait for us. That's all I can tell you. As far as the deeper analysis, pointing to the reports, we can send reports. It's pretty easy to do that. But I appreciate these workshops, and I appreciate Mr. Dockstader. I mean, if we could get out, if we know, 3 weeks out, like this is what we hope to workshop, and then it has time for policy analysis and all the other discussions on what we're trying to accomplish with this policy or that policy. There's going to be a lot of work in this, but it's government. It's going to take a little bit of time based on people's schedules and that kind of thing. So the more permanency we have, knowing what's coming, people can plug in on those issues that are important to them. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate your thoughts. I mean, the workshops are new, and we are working and striving to set them up to where there is complete transparency and discussion. So we do really appreciate your attendance, and we encourage all department heads to attend. Thank you.
I would just say about this workshop format, it's unreasonable to say that we're going to have a workshop agenda 3 weeks in advance. I've never witnessed it in all of the public meetings that I've gone to, that you can produce something like that with that much certainty that far in advance. And having not had them in the past, and in quite a number of occasions, was that I got the information for a regular business item in our meeting, and we workshopped it that meeting and passed it by a resolution in that meeting. And so by doing it the way that we have begun to set it up, it would then provide a week, and now we're immediately being told that we should have 3 weeks, and that's not reasonable. That's difficult for staff to do, and I think we need to start as we've begun already to workshop an item and then allow for a 1 week gap for some of that analysis and look ahead. I believe is completely adequate at this point. If we go with this format for a period of time and we find that we need to adjust or occasionally run an item through a workshop a second time, I can see and appreciate how that is. But to automatically say now we've got to go to burden the staff with putting together a workshop agenda that's 3 weeks in advance is not reasonable.
It's defeating to some point.
So I'm not suggesting you do all the work in advance. If the board has goals, take for instance this policy for surplusing property. And I know that started, there's, you want to do other financial policies that potentially came up. For a county that's growing, all I'm suggesting is that you have, things you say, this is what we'd like to accomplish by the end of the year, and you say, this is what we're targeting. I'm not suggesting, even like these budgeting workshops, there is going to be a lot of work. I mean, you're not going to be able to do the work and get it out in time in 3 or 4 days to say these budget workshops, what you hope to accomplish, how you structure them, what does success look like, right? Because that's what, even in the budgeting process that we went through last summer, that was unconventional for the past, 13 years I've been here. And part of it was, it was a transition time. And so to have and say, hey, we want to run these things, and this is, it takes time to collect this stuff, to get legal involved. They have to look at stuff. And if, It's government, it moves pretty slow, but I'm not suggesting, I'm not suggesting a deep dive other than to say, hey, this is what our tentative schedule is. We hope to discuss these things as a board. Like I said, I know there was some move for some financial policies had come up a few weeks ago, and there wasn't a lot of time based on ongoing statutory responsibilities of each elected as well. So whether it's picking things out, it is difficult to do for all of us, as evidenced by the fact that these budget workshops, you're hoping to rely on, staff that's in the auditor's function that has its own setup. So I hope we can find some way to whether you pick one or two things, right? You're looking at surplusing property right now is kind of live and moving. The financial policies had come up, and so are those going to come back? If they are, we put those, on there. Are they, where do they go with the budgeting? I'm not suggesting any high level of work other than just a list of goals for the year to use these budget workshops for. So I know that, and I think some of the older people can speak to it, but I think back before I got here, they used to have 2 meetings a week, and then they got away from that, but they had constant stuff on there and people were aware of it. And it's largely for, internal, but it takes time to put together good policies, ordinances, whatever it is this board decides to do, if it wants to tap into the experience that's in the courthouse, whether it's, directors that have been here a long time or elected officials or whatever it is. So my hope is we can figure something out.
Well, so one of the purposes of the workshop was to discuss items that were coming up on the agenda, and that therefore given the 3 commissioners a chance to discuss it beforehand. So pushing it out another 3 weeks is.
And Chair, if I may, when I get an opportunity, I appreciate the auditor's comments, and I will make a commitment to reach out to all elected officials that are involved, and I'm hoping the auditor's office will make that same commitment to work with us and the commissioner's office, because so much revolves around money, obviously, in government, and they've been great to work with, but in the future as we create policies, and those are some of my goals this year, to create some financial policies, coming out of the study we did. That was something that was highly recommended, to come up with some financial policies. So I'll make that commitment to work with you and your staff, and appreciate the comments, and because I want to work with each individual elected official, because so much revolves around their individual staffs and their policy engagements. So and that's something I admit I can do better, as a county administrator. Every day is a growing experience, and I tell my individual staff, every day is a day to get better. So this will be a process, and I think there'll be tweaks, and we'll be getting better throughout the process. So we could probably get a little more time, and I think that was one of the reasons Commissioner Bauman was so strong on suggesting it, because we were kind of workshopping on the fly, if you will. I was bringing stuff before the body, and it's like, hey, I haven't had time to research this or whatnot. So I think it's going to make us a better county ultimately. So again, appreciate Matt's comments.
Commissioner Bauman.
So as far as my understanding is, the purpose of this workshop was so that we could have open dialogue.
Yes.
There's nothing to preclude any of us from having a conversation with anybody else, except there is for me to have a conversation with you. And so the purpose of this workshop is not for necessarily, and this is, I'm one vote, but my understanding my hope was so that we could have an open dialogue and discuss these items with each other, not to have, you can go have a conversation with any of the other electeds at any given time as well as I can, except for we can't talk to each other.
Right.
And so the purpose of the workshop was so that we could discuss this with each other.
Right.
And so, it feels like that all of a sudden now this is going to be a 4-hour work session where everybody comes in from every different department. And as far as I know, we can still do that without this meeting. Purpose of this meeting is workshop meeting is so that we can have open dialogue with each other and understand kind of the thoughts and the concerns of each other through the process and hear concerns along with what we discuss, to allow the concerns of people in a brief format to interject something that they feel that we might, not information that we might not have, but not just to be an open format for whatever is felt to be brought. That was why that I specifically asked that the three of us, as well as the county administrator, be the only ones that have discretion to put something on the workshop agenda, and not just to be an open free-for-all for whoever is interested.
Thank you.
I did have a couple of observations, if I may.
Yes.
The first is with respect to meeting with the city council. I think it's a good idea, but it would trigger the OPMA, so we'd have to maybe have some sort of, maybe a joint workshop meeting. That we just, either a special meeting, or we go on, for one of the entities, either us or the city, it could be on your regular agenda, your regularly scheduled workshop meeting, and then the other entity would have to be a special meeting, because our meetings don't occur at the same time, obviously. So we could do that. I think that would certainly be possible, and that could be beneficial for everyone. The other thing I wanted to just point out when we're talking about that Hapo Center agreement moving forward with the city, sort of historically, the hotel lodging tax was just passed at the time that they formed the ILA. Like, those two things, I don't think that's a coincidence, by the way. I think that was really the city's plan to sort of fund their end of the investment, at least in large part. And at the time it was passed, obviously no one, you had the law, no one knew exactly what it meant except for what the word said. Well, I think a couple of years later, an attorney general opinion came out on it that specified that the entity that's spending the money, so in this case the city, really does need to operate the facility, and they sort of went into more of a definition of what that meant. And I think it's when we're looking at revisiting this agreement and sort of making it a partnership where we're moving forward, having more involvement with the city in the operational aspect of it, appears not only, a good idea, maybe practically speaking, since they're our partner here, but maybe even legally if their source of funds is from this hotel lodging tax. So that's all I had on that.
All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes.
As far as the workshop being for the commissioners to talk amongst each other, that's true, because you're so limited on how you can meet. Workshop is basically for doing policy, for setting guidelines where the county's gonna go, or certain ordinances that are coming up. And the public has just as much right to be there to talk about it and know about it ahead of time as you three do, so you could talk about it amongst yourselves. Because if it's something that important, it's gonna affect the citizens of the county. And they should be given notice instead of, oh, well, we had this policy this last week, we're gonna do it next week. And then you put the notice out in the paper on Monday or Tuesday. Nobody knows about it until it's too late. They don't have a chance to get in here and have their say. So I'm glad you're doing workshops. I've been saying that for years, you should be doing them. But I think it needs to be given fair notice to the public, because the things you do affect everybody in the county, and they should have a right to have a say, and not just be limited to come in here, what's your comments? Okay, George, your 3 minutes is up, get out of here, and we can't talk to you. I don't think, that's not where the workshop's intended to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So, George? Yes. If you come up and watch the screen, she's gonna maneuver through. Did you ever find the agenda on the?
No, I couldn't find
Okay,
it.
she's
I
gonna.
had somebody show me, and you had to go through 5 steps. When you go, city council sends out their deal, click, there's the agenda. Why can't we do that on our website?
I agree.
How many steps you have to go to? 5 to find it?
Mike, do you have your laptop? Or no, that's okay. Let me change that.
I think we gotta make it simpler, though. They
When you pull
they
up
shouldn't
the
be going
county
through 5
website,
steps.
There should be an item right there, agenda. Should have the present agenda and past agendas.
We could definitely work with IS to make it simpler, because I'm.
Gotta get it.
Yeah, I won't, I'm
You
not.
Google Franklin County, the agenda should come up right now, so you know what's coming up in the next meeting.
We'll work on it.
There's another link that he needs to click on.
On the new system?
It needs to be clearer.
Yeah, I will admit, Chair, it is a little clunky, and Commissioner Didier, I'm not going to deny that. So we'll work with IS to see, I think some easy fixes, Chair, will be put the agenda on the homepage. I'll start putting the agenda on our social media platforms.
Yep.
So, you know, we built it up to, I think we've got 2,100 people on there, so that'll get it out. I can also email the agenda to the media, so multiple outlets have it, and so we'll make a concerted effort to, then I'll work with IS, George, to make sure that,
It should be simple. I mean, I.
no, it's a good point, absolutely.
On the website, there's the agenda.
All right, so when you go to the main page, you click on government, well, actually, whoever, and then meeting agendas. If you see this link, it's gonna take you to the new site of the agendas.
Yeah, so you gotta go through 4 steps.
Go to the meeting agenda, it doesn't actually get you there.
Doesn't take you there.
Then you have to go through that, yeah, in order to have.
4 steps after that.
That's too cumbersome.
Should be right there on the home page, Franklin County agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, but it has to do with the new software that we got.
Okay,
And then the other thing, the agenda that's presented here is different than the one that was posted. When it was first posted. The one that was first posted had a settlement deal, Jones versus the county, or James, or something.
We still have it.
And then the one that was presented today, that wasn't there.
it's number 4 on the consent. Look again, George, number 4 on the consent. Do you have the agenda?
Oh, I don't have it
Oh.
here. Yeah.
No, it was on the agenda, it was number 4 on the consent.
It's not there, is it?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, okay, I can. Okay.
All right.
All right, is there any further discussion or,
No, sir, we'll get that updated and fixed, and make it easier.
all right, well, I will adjourn the workshop. Thanks. Thank you.